Hey everyone, how we doing today? First episode of the Christ Cast. So, just wanted to jump into it. Consciousness, what we think of as consciousness. It's definitely something that the human species has dealt with a lot of issues in the past, not understanding fully what consciousness is, not being sure of how to receive consciousness, not being sure of that we're worthy of consciousness. It's important to know that each one of us was built as an exquisite piece of art. Now, art comes in so many different forms and flavors, and that it may be hard to understand that you are a piece of art. And what you see when you look in the mirror is distorted by the perception you have of a past that you may or may not have had control over. People, things, places, experiences that were seemingly out of your control, that you played a part in, that shaped the way you see this art. Now, the amazing thing about each one of us being designed, created as art, is that we were also built as receivers. We were built to experience the art that we were created as. It's almost as if the painter painted a picture and the picture came to life. This doesn't always resonate with people. May feel like a R.L. Stine Goosebumps book. But if you think of yourself as this piece of art that came to life to have sentience, to have awareness and consciousness at a certain point, what point was that for you? Do you remember when you came to consciousness? Do you remember your earliest memory of when you all of a sudden had this ability of choice? Can you see it clearly with your eyes? With the eye inside of your eye? Can you see it? It's there. This consciousness is somehow like a switch being flipped, turned on, right? And it turned off, and it turned on, and it turned off, and it turned on. And through this remembering and not remembering and remembering and not remembering, we see that we have an ability to connect with consciousness, to connect with awareness. And we aren't necessarily just running around without any control over the reality we perceive. That our reality is being perceived willingly by us or unwillingly by us. So the idea of consciousness is a field, as just like the air that we breathe, that it's out there. I have no control over it. I can't make more of it or less of it. It just exists. The only thing I can do is receive it. I can choose to receive it or not receive it. Now, the other problem we run into is when I try to receive, I want to receive. When this one wants to receive, this form, this identity, this thing that's been created through years and years and years of stacking images and ideas and thoughts and nuances and neuroses and personalities and getting people to like us on top of it, it gets in the way, and it keeps me from receiving properly or receiving the fullness of the consciousness that is available to me. So the biggest problem we have is getting out of the way. Because the consciousness exists. It's there. It's never not there. And I see a lot of people, religious, this is the Christ cast, taking Jesus Christ, making Jesus as the one and only, the only one who could receive God fully. This just isn't true. It's available to all of us. And it was also spoken of by Jesus, if you want to believe the texts. Especially if you want to take the text literally, all of the text literally, which so many say they do, yet omit very, very telling things that Jesus said. Like, did I not say that you two are gods and will do greater things even than me? So we have to be careful that we don't exclude ourselves from this consciousness that's available. We don't exclude ourselves from this idea of God, because all it is an idea. Now, the problem with naming God is that it's too limited. With something that exists in infinity and eternity and reaches farther than the human mind can grasp and is capable of more and greater things than anyone could ever grasp. To put a name on it is almost irresponsible, but it is necessary to get us there. And by there, I mean getting to a place of receiving consciousness. And this was the whole idea behind receiving Jesus Christ into yourself. If you don't receive that form of consciousness, if it's not a personal experience, your eyes will never be opened. So we open our eyes by receiving a personal experience. And once you have that personal experience, you'll know what I'm talking about. So how do we get out of our own way? How do we open the channels for consciousness to flow in? And this is a process of letting go of ourselves completely, letting go of the idea of ourselves, letting go of the idea that we're going to live forever, that even after death, somehow this personality will transcend time, dimensions, and move into a newer place, to a place of eternity. But I tell you, if eternity is forever, the forever, are we not already in eternity? Would you not already be experiencing the higher place now? This idea that this piece of art that was created by sometimes unwilling artists, or definitely willing artists, but artists who unfortunately were not expecting to create another little piece of art, is that we get lost in it. We get lost in this creation. And we get so hung on tight to it. And we believe it is the end-all be-all, that it has to remain forever. The connections that we make, the love that we share, the laughter, the joy, the people we lose, an idea that we're going to see them again. And somehow, if I just hang on to this identity that knows that person, that knows of these loving relationships that it's had, then I won't ever have to lose them, because losing them is terrifying. But isn't it such that existence, if blinked out, say in death, we're lost? We wouldn't be there to experience the loss. There wouldn't be any form of regret or sadness or fear or doubt or worry, because we would no longer exist. The thing that had this experience of life no longer receives the experience of life, no longer sees it, no longer feels it or smells it or touches it or tastes it. It no longer exists. The sadness that we feel upon the passing of another human is a shared consciousness that we know that a unique piece of art that experienced time and space at the same time and space that we did is now no longer here. And it's always sad to lose a valuable, irreplaceable piece of art. Something that had such a unique way of seeing the world that it could only be seen by that person or that thing. This is a difficult concept for people to grasp. Nobody likes death. Nobody wants to deal in death. It's tough. But to know that we're only experiencing this as this human form, as a piece of art, to experience the incredible beauty of creation, that we are so loved by consciousness, a conscious creation, that we were formed to experience it all, should hopefully give some form of peace, that it's okay, that we don't have to fear death. Because although we won't go on as the form that we were, those parts of ourselves that we hang on to, that we say, that's me, and that's me, I can see myself there, that's me, all disappear as we flow back into the form of consciousness, as a cup dipping into water. The water remains in the cup, but once the cup breaks, the water goes back into the river. And you can't point at any point of the river and say that was the water the cup was in, or that was the water from the cup. It's just not possible. Consciousness is received and it's passed on through us. It is an inhale and an exhale. We receive consciousness, we give what we receive back so that we may receive more. If we try to hold on to the consciousness, we lose it. It has to continue to pass through us. And we experience it in new ways all the time as a part of our experience, which is one of the most beautiful gifts I think I can think of. A wise philosopher once said, I thought of going to philosophy school, but then I rethunk it. That's my joke for the day. It's interesting too that when we feel this sense of dread towards not being a part of something bigger, of being so self-identified as this one, that this one's going to be dead. And what has this one done? It's a fear that unfortunately exists for so many of us, so that we, instead of identifying with the consciousness that we all share, all of our similarities, we identify instead with the differences of the surface. These surface level differences mean nothing. They will pass away, they will disappear, we will once again flow back into the river of consciousness. It makes sense that we want to identify. We want to be different. We want to be unique. In a world so full of incredible pieces of art, we too want to stand out. We too want to show that our art is just as valuable, it's just as good. But when we go about it in the ways of self-identity, of this is how I'm different than you, when we create division amongst ourselves, we create the problems in the world. If I can't look at another human being of a different color or nationality or race or sex or gender and say that is me, that too is me, experiencing this. That is consciousness in another form. It's all it is. When we do that, we create a unity that we were put here to create. As each puzzle piece has its place in the puzzle, it's a small, tiny little piece of art created for the sole purpose of connecting to the rest of the little pieces of art, to build a greater picture of unity, of cohesiveness, of beauty, to bring a picture to life that would never exist in the scope that it needs to exist without that tiny piece. And when I simply identify as this tiny piece of puzzle, that I'm different than the rest of you, that look at how my corners are shaped and my edges curved, that look at the spots of color here, it's different than yours. We have nothing in common, and we never will. We lose the ability to create the magnificent picture that lies before us. It's not an easy task. It never has been. It has never been an easy task to let go of ourselves, to understand that we are more than just these bodies. That we are so much more. That these flesh and bones and blood are here for our experience, are gifts for us. To feel, not only see the connection, but feel the connection in a way that we couldn't experience it in any other form. To see that we are different, but to know that we are the same. That we connect to create a greater purpose than we could ever do alone through our connected consciousness. No matter how far apart we are, the only thing that separates us is the identity, is the idea of a physical identity keeping us apart. But even that is an illusion. It's an illusion of thought, of perception, that nobody could understand the pain and the fear and the loss that you have understood for your entire life, that nobody could go through it the way you went through it. But that it's possible that we are connected through that feeling. Although the circumstances were not the same, the feeling of loss, of fear, of loneliness, of hurt was the same. Or even the feeling of love and joy and ecstasy was the same. The surface events may have looked different, but that feeling of the conscious moment when we knew something was gone, or that conscious moment, the feeling when we knew that something was there that we would treasure. It may look different for each of us. We may perceive it as different, but it is the same. We are the same. We are capable of creating such a beautiful, powerful, life-affirming gift to each other, to sharing and spreading love beyond anything we could ever understand alone. When we allow this consciousness, through losing our identity, through throwing away the surface of who we think we are. We become who we really are. Incredible gifts and works of art created to receive this experience in the most magnificent way possible. We also have the choice to flip the switch and experience the most miserable existence possible. But it is our choice. If you're waiting for heaven, or if you think you're in hell, know that you are there where you choose to be. Because this is eternity. You're in the flow of the eternal consciousness. You are receiving it, or you are blocking it. Allowing it to flow into your life, to change the way we see one another, and to understand the full beauty of this nature and this reality. Open yourself to the consciousness. Let go of your skin color. Let go of your sexual identity. Let go of your gender, of your beliefs of who you should be. Let go of the family you think you have, of the careers and possessions that you think belong to you. Let go of them all and breathe in the consciousness. Breathe in the creation. Experience this. We will continue to color this world, this reality, with our beliefs and our ideas. It takes a monumental unefforting to remove ourselves from this world, to remove our will from this world. But if we're willing, if we're honest, and if we're open, we will all connect. We will all feel the consciousness, the grace, the forgiveness, the love that's available to us right now. I'll give you a challenge. Spend 5 minutes looking at yourself in the mirror without saying a word, just breathing and looking. And all those thoughts that come into your head about who you are and what you see, let them pass by. Don't judge them. Don't put anger or hate or love on them. Just let them flow. As you continue to breathe and see yourself, I challenge you to do that and see if it changes you. This has been the Christcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If so, subscribe to the channel. Thanks.